My girlfriend's family went bankrupt. To help her parents pay off their debts, I sold my own company at a loss. That wasn't enough. So I worked 3 jobs a day, around the clock. But then, just as I was overwhelmed with stress and suffocating under the enormous debt, I discovered the truth. It was all part of a carefully orchestrated scheme. She had pretended to go bankrupt just to get me to initiate the divorce, so she could be with the person she truly loved, openly and without guilt. In the end, I did exactly what she wanted. But then, she went mad, kneeling at my door, begging me for another chance. Chapter 1. Anna. When are you going to tell George the truth? Are you really playing this game so convincingly that you've started believing it yourself? As I passed by the door of the private room with a drink in hand, a familiar voice came from inside. I stopped in my tracks and peered through the slightly ajar door, just in time to see Anna sitting in the center of the room in a couture V-neck dress, holding a glass of red wine. Beside her was her crush, Makoto, along with a few friends from before, both male and female. Ever since the Su family went bankrupt 3 months ago, Anna had tearfully told me that none of these people were speaking to her anymore, that they would never interact with her again. Since then, I hadn't seen any of them, but now, they were gathered, drinking together, their expressions no different from before. I subconsciously tightened my grip on the plate I was holding, an unsettling feeling washing over me. My feet seemed glued to the ground, unable to move. The truth? What truth? There was a brief silence in the room before Anna's mocking voice broke through. She said, "I'm so tired of playing this act. I never expected that even after we told his family we went bankrupt and had him help my father pay off debts, he still wouldn't divorce me. He's like an inseparable scab, grossing me out." Laughter filled the room, and my heart sank. The bankruptcy of the Su family. Was it all a lie? Someone said, "I heard George has been working 3 jobs these past few months to help pay off your family's debts. If he knew the bankruptcy was fake, that you were using it to force him to file for divorce, his face would be priceless." Haha. There's no way he knows Su's family didn't go bankrupt, right? Otherwise, how could he not know about the hundreds of billions of debt and still refuse to leave you? Someone else added, haha. He's probably still hoping Su's family will make a comeback and remember him as a good son-in-law. All this hard work is just for show. Watch. 3 months is his limit. He won't last much longer. They started betting on how much longer I could hold out, but I didn't stay to listen to the rest. Numbly, I handed the drink to the guest and quit my job. The manager's expression was one of displeasure. After all, today was only my 3rd day on the job. This was my 4th part-time job, and I hadn't told Anna about it. When I was working 3 jobs before, she told me I was overworking myself and not to push so hard, that she'd try to help pay off the debts. I didn't want to worry her, so I never planned on telling her, and now, I was glad I hadn't. Otherwise, I wouldn't have learned the truth today, or realized just how much she despised me, to the point where she would use bankruptcy to force me into filing for divorce. I imagined that, when she saw me diligently putting my part-time earnings into a savings jar every day, she must have been laughing at my foolishness. I also felt foolish, for ever believing in Su's bankruptcy, for thinking I could work hard to help them pay off their debts, foolishly thinking I could spend my life with her. After leaving the bar, I went straight back to the rented apartment. Ever since she said Su's family had gone bankrupt, I rented a small room using the last few thousand yuan I had left. Anna and I had known each other since childhood. Our parents were close, and we were neighbors. We went to the same school from kindergarten through high school. Whenever the elders gathered for meals, they'd always joke about setting us up as children. As a kid, I thought I'd definitely marry her when I grew up, and she was always good to me, at least until Makoto showed up. I fought for her for the first time, skipped school for her, even defied my elders for her. Back then, her eyes always shone when she looked at me. She asked me why I was so good to her, and I said because she was my future wife, and anyone who bullied her was bullying me. She'd get angry and embarrassed, saying she wouldn't marry me. After she did poorly on her college entrance exams, we ended up at different universities. On the day we registered, at the airport, she hugged me and warned me not to look at other girls, saying we'd get married after graduation. I kept my word and turned down all the girls who showed interest in me. But she fell in love with Makoto at university. We slowly became like parallel lines with no intersection. I once thought we'd turn into strangers, greeting each other briefly when we crossed paths. But in my senior year, a car accident took my parents' lives. I started learning to manage the company, and the death of my parents, coupled with difficulties from shareholders, felt like 2 mountains pressing down on me, nearly crushing me. I was in a terrible state during that time, and Su's grandfather wanted Anna to come back and keep me company, even suggesting we get married. After all, marrying Anna would mean having the Su family behind me, so the shareholders wouldn't dare target me too much. At first, Anna refused to agree. I knew she had someone else in her heart and didn't want to hold her back. Later, I don't know what happened between her and Makoto, but they broke up. During that time, Anna drank heavily, and every time she came home, Sue's grandfather would scold her and lock her in the house to prevent her from going out. She would obediently stay in for a few days, only to start drinking again. One time, she got drunk, and the bartender called me to pick her up. From then on, whenever she got drunk, the bartender would call me. Eventually, one time, she was so drunk, she mistook me for Makoto. That day, my uncle caused a scene at my house, and I was in a bad mood and had a bit to drink. I couldn't control myself. Soon after, Sue's grandfather found out about it and forced me to marry Anna. At that point, Anna had given up and agreed. I thought that since she and Makoto were done, after we got married, I would spend the rest of my life making her happy and never let her be sad. After marriage, Anna was kind to me, but after seeing how deeply she felt for Makoto, I could tell she was just going through the motions with me. I didn't know when she and Makoto reconnected, but I never expected her to use this method to force me to divorce her. To fill the so-called debt gap in the Sue family, I even sold my family's Wong Corporation and gave all the money to her, only to be met with betrayal. If she had just told me the truth, I wouldn't have pursued her. Even if I loved her, it wasn't enough to make me lose my dignity and shamefully cling to her. At past midnight, Anna finally came home. She had changed into the t-shirt and jeans she wore before she left, the ones I bought at the wholesale market for 40 yuan. Before, she would only wear custom-made clothes or haute couture dresses, and these street market items would never have caught her eye. Making her live this hard life these past 3 months was indeed a hardship for her. Seeing that I hadn't slept, she seemed surprised. She asked, "Why aren't you asleep, waiting for me? I just got back from my part-time job and brought some late-night snacks. Do you want to eat?" I looked at her calmly, trying to find even the slightest hint of guilt in her eyes, but there was none. She was completely calm. I really wanted to ask her, was it fun to deceive me for 3 months? But asking was pointless. She opened the foam lunchbox, skillfully tore open the disposable chopsticks, and handed them to me. The smell of stir-fried rice noodles spread in the cramped rented room. I lowered my gaze at her hand holding the chopsticks, blinked, and forced down the bitterness rising in my heart. I said, "Anna, let's divorce." Chapter 2. Plop. Her chopsticks fell to the floor, and the smile on her face froze. I didn't understand why she showed such an expression of disbelief and confusion. She had always despised me to the extreme, so why wouldn't she feel relieved when I asked for a divorce? Why put on this act now? Who was she trying to fool? She asked, "Is it because Sue's family went bankrupt that you're now disgusted by me, thinking I'm a burden?" Looking into her eyes, full of feigned hurt, I almost wanted to laugh, but my eyes involuntarily reddened. She was the one who pretended the family went bankrupt to force me to ask for a divorce. Yet when I finally gave her what she wanted, she turned around and accused me of abandoning her. I rubbed my brow and said, "Anna, don't you think you're repulsive right now? I never imagined that the person who once held my hand and promised we would never be apart would become like this. It was fine if she liked Makoto, and it was fine if she wanted to divorce me and be with him, but she shouldn't have resorted to such low tactics to force me to ask for a divorce, just so she could walk away free and clear, without any guilt." Her pupils shrank, and she grabbed my hand in anger, her gaze sharp and confrontational. She said, "George, back when Sue's family went bankrupt, you said, no matter what happened in the future, you wouldn't leave me, that you wouldn't abandon me. Now, just 3 months later, you show your true colors and call me disgusting." I shook her off and stepped back, looking at her coldly. I said, "I did say that, but the truth is, Sue's family didn't go bankrupt. You pretended it to make me the villain and force me to ask for a divorce, just so you could walk away guilt-free, didn't you? Don't you think that's disgusting?" Anna's face darkened. She opened her mouth, as if wanting to say something, but in the end, she remained silent. This face, which once made my heart flutter, I now couldn't bear to look at any longer. I said, "Pack up tonight and move out. I'll be at the Civil Affairs Bureau at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Also, the assets I sold from the Wong family, I expect every penny to be returned to me." When Anna didn't respond, I lost my patience and directly contacted Makoto to come pick her up and bring a change of clothes. Makoto was a smart guy, and he knew exactly why I was calling him. Less than half an hour later, he arrived. Seeing him pull up in a luxury car, wearing an expensive watch, looking all proud and smug, I couldn't help but feel ridiculous for working multiple jobs for the last 3 months. It only made me despise Anna even more. So she was using my money to support a kept man. Huh? I looked at Anna, struggling to keep my voice steady. I said, "The clothes you're wearing right now were bought by me. Change them and leave." With that, I turned and left the apartment. Soon after, Makoto walked out as well. He said, "Anna, she just didn't know how to tell you, so she came up with this plan. We didn't want to hurt you." I turned to look at him, my gaze scanning his perfectly manicured hands. Then I gave a sarcastic laugh, showing him my own calloused hands, battered from hard work. I really wanted to know how he could say those words. "We didn't want to hurt you," I said. "Is this what you call not wanting to hurt me? For the past 3 months, I slept only 4 hours a day, working every spare moment to save a couple of bucks. I walked back and forth to 2 part-time jobs 5 kilometers apart. At first, my feet were covered in blisters, but I endured the pain, bursting them, and after half a month, they had thickened into calluses and never blistered again. All that effort, all those sacrifices, now seemed like a joke. From the very beginning, Anna and Makoto had been watching me, waiting for the moment when I'd finally crack and leave her. But I never thought that the love I had for her would one day become a weapon she used to hurt me. Makoto bit his lip, lowered his gaze, and said, "Mr. Wong, I'm sorry, but Anna and I are in true love." I couldn't suppress the anger building up inside me any longer. I looked at him coldly and said, "True love? Do you think by doing all this disgusting stuff and hiding behind the excuse of true love, you're somehow elevating yourselves? If you could just admit you're trying to force me to leave, I might have respected you more." Makoto frowned, about to retort, but his gaze suddenly shifted behind me. "Anna." His expression turned helpless, a hint of grievance in his eyes as he spoke. "Mr. Wong, you've misunderstood us. Please, have her explain. We never wanted to hurt you." Anna appeared, wearing a custom-made evening dress, her body stunning, so beautiful that it was almost impossible to look away. This was the Anna I was familiar with, yet I only felt a deep sense of alienation. She walked up to Makoto and blocked my view of him. She said, "This decision was mine alone. It has nothing to do with Makoto. If you want to blame someone, blame me." Seeing her protect Makoto, afraid I might do something to him, my heart felt as if it was being violently squeezed, pain tearing through me. Look at her. She would never let anyone hurt the people she cared about. As for me, I had long been excluded from that circle, and that was fine. At least now I wouldn't have any false hope, nor would I be trapped in the beautiful memories of the past. I took a deep breath and slowly said, "I should blame you." The moment those words left my mouth, there was a sharp crack as I raised my hand and slapped her across the face. Chapter 3. Because I slapped her too hard, my hand tingled slightly, and Anna's previously pale face now had a clear red mark from the slap. "Anna." Makoto's face turned anxious as he grabbed her. His eyes filled with fury as he glared at me. I rubbed my numb hand and coldly stared at Anna. I said, "You've lied to me for 3 months. A slap is actually a light punishment." Makoto gritted his teeth. "George, don't you think you've gone too far? No one's ever dared to lay a hand on Anna." I looked at him indifferently and replied, "Has anyone ever told you that no one has dared to treat me this way either? Back when my parents were still alive, I had a rebellious streak. Everyone around me knew I had a bad temper, and hardly anyone dared to provoke me. After their tragic death in a car accident, I've mellowed out a lot over the years, but that doesn't mean I no longer have a temper." Makoto frowned, about to speak, but Anna stopped him. Under the dim streetlight, her expression was unreadable. She said, "Makoto, stop. It's my fault. After this slap, I won't owe him anything. Let's go." Makoto shot me one last unwilling look before silently following Anna. I turned and went back to the apartment, spending the whole night cleaning out everything related to Anna and throwing it all in the trash. I didn't want any of her presence lingering. By the time I finished throwing out the garbage, it was already past 6 in the morning, and the sky was starting to lighten. I decided not to sleep and took my ID, household registration, and marriage certificate to the Civil Affairs Bureau, waiting outside. At 8 a.m., Anna showed up right on time. I didn't feel like wasting any words with her, so I turned around and walked straight into the Civil Affairs Bureau. The divorce process went smoothly. In addition to the company left by my parents, Anna also gave me tens of millions and 2 villas. I accepted it, then immediately donated it to a foundation. Might as well do some good. After I received the divorce certificate, I walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau and was about to hail a cab when Anna suddenly called out to me. She said, "I'm sorry for the lies before." When she spoke these words, her tone was sincere, her expression filled with regret. I smiled and said, "Save your apology. If apologies worked, we wouldn't need judges." Her brows furrowed, as if she wanted to say something, but suddenly her gaze stopped. I followed her gaze down to my hand, noticing I was still wearing the silver ring. This was the ring she had convinced me to buy from a street vendor, replacing our wedding ring in order to pay off debts. At the time, I felt that I shouldn't sell the wedding ring no matter what. But she, with a serious look, had insisted that it didn't matter how much the ring was worth. What mattered was whether the person wearing it was in love. She said that when I had money in the future, I could buy her a new one. I was moved, thinking that my efforts over the years had finally made her fall back in love with me. Later, I treated the ring like a treasure, carefully cleaning it every night before bed. Now, I realize how foolish I was, believing whatever she said without question. I lowered my head, took off the ring, and casually tossed it into the trash can nearby. I said, "Don't misunderstand. I just forgot to throw it out when I was cleaning last night." Her lips parted as if she wanted to say something, but her expression was vague and hard to read. I frowned, feeling confused. After the divorce, shouldn't she be relieved and eager to celebrate with Makoto? Why did it feel like she was acting as if someone owed her millions? I didn't bother with her any longer and was about to hail a taxi when suddenly a red Lamborghini pulled up in front of me. Inside the car, Willow's face was filled with joy. She called out, "George, congratulations on escaping the misery. You might want to consider marrying me for your second chance." Anna's face darkened as she coldly glared at Willow. "Willow, there's a limit to jokes. Willow and I had been classmates since elementary school, and we used to be good friends. But during middle school, for reasons I never understood, she and Anna had a huge falling out and became bitter enemies, constantly at odds with each other. Over the years, they'd been battling it out online, exchanging blackmail and gossip, trading insults and looking for ways to get under each other's skin. I had barely any contact with her. How would she know about my divorce from Anna? Before I could make sense of it, Willow continued, "Anna, you know I'm not joking." With that, she got out of the car and walked up to me. "George, though this might be a bit quick, if you're willing to marry me, we can go inside right now and get the marriage certificate." Chapter 4. I was stunned for a moment, then felt somewhat speechless. I said, "Miss Lou, I'm busy. I don't have time to play these childish games with you." She replied, "Who told you I'm playing games?" She handed me her household registration book, her expression serious as she said, "I'm telling the truth. I liked you in middle school, and that hasn't changed over the years." I frowned, deeply doubting the truth of her words. If she had said this just to annoy Anna, I might have believed her, but she claimed she liked me since middle school, and I didn't see a hint of that back then. Anna's emotions escalated quickly, and she slapped Willow. The two women quickly began to tear at each other. I couldn't be bothered to watch them fight, so I hailed a cab and left. After all, no one was going to die from this, and two women fighting in broad daylight outside the Civil Affairs Bureau wasn't exactly a good look for me. A grown man standing there. Anna acted fast. Within a few days, she returned the company to me. She didn't come herself but sent a lawyer to handle it. That was fine by me. I didn't want to see her anymore. After taking back control of the company, I was busier than ever. My days were more fulfilling than before. If Willow hadn't been constantly pestering me, I think my life might have been a lot happier. Ever since my divorce with Anna, Willow had been waiting for me downstairs at the office building almost every day. Sometimes she'd invite me to dinner, and sometimes, under the pretext of discussing business, she'd subtly express her desire to be with me. After half a month of her relentless pursuit, I couldn't take it anymore and finally called out to her one day, "Willow, we need to talk." She raised an eyebrow. "Sure, are we talking about a relationship?" I was speechless. With a serious expression, I said, "Stop bothering me. Even if you did like me in middle school, we're both adults now, and I've changed a lot. Have you ever considered that what you liked wasn't me, but the feeling?" I continued. Willow furrowed her brows. "What feeling?" I replied. "You like the version of me from the past, but I'm no longer that guy from middle school. Do you understand?" She nodded and said, "I understand, but whether it's the past version of you or the present one, I like both. I'm certain that I want to spend my life with you. No one else will do." Her eyes were full of sincerity, and for a moment, my heart skipped a beat. I realized she really liked me, but no matter how sincere the feelings were, time could wear them down. Anna had once looked at me with the same eyes, yet in the end, she had easily fallen for another man. I said, "Even if you really like me, Before I could finish, Willow interrupted me. "George, I know you haven't gotten over your last relationship yet. I'm willing to wait. If you're worried I'll be like Anna and try to take your money, let me tell you, I don't want any dowry. I'm even willing to sign a prenuptial agreement with you." Seeing that she seemed serious, I quickly rejected her offer, saying, "No need for that. Let me be clear, I don't like you right now. The most important thing for me is managing my parents' company. I'm not thinking about relationships at the moment." Willow nodded and said, "I understand. I've said I'll wait for you. I just hope that when you're ready for a relationship, I'll be the first one you consider." Looking into her gentle and loving gaze, I couldn't bring myself to outright refuse. After a long silence, I finally told her I hoped she would reduce the frequency of visiting me at the office, as it was starting to affect my normal life. Willow agreed, and from that day on, she didn't come to find me every day. However, she started sending me updates about her schedule on WeChat. "Today at work is so boring. I want to see you. I'm on a business trip in City C. It's raining here. Thinking of you. I'll bring you some local specialties when I get back. I can't sleep because I'm thinking of you. Can you send me a voice message? I might not be able to sleep tonight if I don't hear your voice." There were countless messages like these, and it only took 3 days for me to go from feeling speechless to completely ignoring them. I started to wonder if she'd been possessed by someone else. After all, in my memory, although Willow was a woman, she had taken over her family's business at the age of 23. She was a fierce businesswoman with a commanding presence in the corporate world. The sweet, almost needy tone in the messages didn't match her usual image at all. However, aside from sending me these daily messages, she had helped me avoid some pitfalls while managing the company. Gradually, our relationship began to ease. and it almost felt like the time before Anna and Willow had fallen out in middle school. Still, I wasn't planning to get together with Willow. After all, I'd only tasted the bitterness of love once, and I wasn't eager for a repeat. The first time I saw Anna again was a month after our divorce. Grandpa Sue had found out about our divorce, and the shock caused him to be rushed to the hospital. In desperation, Anna contacted me, although I didn't want to see Anna. Grandpa Sue had always treated me well. Out of respect and affection, I knew I should go. When I reached the hospital room, both Anna and Makoto were there. Makoto looked downcast, and Anna was trying to comfort him. I knocked on the door, and after Grandpa Sue realized it was me, he allowed me in. From his mouth, I learned that it was Anna and Makoto who had run into Grandpa Sue while shopping. He had mistaken their encounter for infidelity and, in a fit of anger, had scolded Makoto for destroying someone else's marriage. Only then did Anna explain that we had divorced. Seeing that Grandpa Sue was still agitated, I quickly tried to calm him down. After his emotions were fully settled, I got up to leave. He asked, "George, is it true that there was no connection between you and that man in your divorce?" Looking into Grandpa Sue's pained eyes, I felt the urge to tell him everything, but I couldn't. Grandpa Sue had a weak heart, and he was particularly fond of Anna. If he knew the truth, it would surely hurt him deeply. I feared his health wouldn't be able to handle it. Besides, what had happened between Anna and me was already in the past. There was no need to bring it up and cause Grandpa Sue any more pain. I smiled and nodded. I said, "Yes, she only got together with Mr. Ito after we divorced. Anna and I separated amicably. There are no lingering feelings between us. Staying together would only cause more pain for both of us. We're not meant to be, and I've already moved on. I have a new girlfriend now. When the time is right, I'll bring her to meet you." Grandpa Sue stared at me for a long while before finally letting out a long sigh. Chapter 05. He sighed and said, Forget it. I'm old now. I can't interfere with your young people's matters. Do as you please." After leaving the hospital room, Anna quietly said, "Thank you," to me. She must have heard everything I said to Grandpa Sue just now. I replied, "No need to thank me. I didn't reveal the truth. I just didn't want Grandpa Sue to be further hurt. It has nothing to do with you." Anna nodded, her eyes flickering with a complicated emotion. She said, "I understand. Are you in a relationship now?" I frowned and replied, "That's personal. I don't think I need to tell you." She bit her lip and said, "I'm sorry." I said, "Grandpa Sue's mood has stabilized, but I still have company matters to attend to. I need to go now." With that, I turned and left. After that day, Anna and Makoto began their high-profile relationship, no longer hiding it. I didn't want to focus on them, but the two of them kept making headlines in entertainment news, and even my employees started discussing it. Makoto liked luxury cars, so she poured tens of millions into buying him a garage full of sports cars. Makoto liked mansions, so she spent tens of millions more buying him a riverside villa. Makoto's health wasn't good, so she climbed to the top of Mount Everest on foot and carved his name into a rock, all to pray for his well-being. Hearing all this, I wasn't surprised. When Anna loved someone, she loved wholeheartedly and would do anything for them. Just like when we were young, she would brave the rain to buy me dumplings when I was sick, gently feeding me medicine. She couldn't swim, yet would dive with me to see the almost unreal, colorful world beneath the sea. She hated crowds but would hold me in the middle of a bustling crowd. Young love was passionate and sincere, yet short-lived. Once it burned out, only ashes remained, scattered by the wind. I happened to spot Anna's car parked downstairs from my apartment one rainy night. I was woken by the thunder and remembered the living room window was open. As I went to close it, a flash of lightning lit up the sky, and I saw the red Ferrari parked downstairs. Recognizing it as Anna's car, I frowned but didn't pay much attention. After closing the window, I went back to sleep. However, I soon realized that her car was parked downstairs almost 3 or 4 nights a week, a couple of times. It could have been a coincidence, but after so many times, I began to suspect she was doing it on purpose. She was now completely with Makoto, so why was she acting so strange by showing up at my place at night? I took a photo of her car and sent it to a friend in the industry to pass on to Makoto. Soon after, the car left. For the next period, Anna's car never appeared downstairs again. I thought the matter was over, but to my surprise, Makoto reached out to me. He said, "Mr. Wong, I shouldn't have come to find you, but after thinking it over for a while, I felt I needed to explain for Anna. She came to see you to ask you to check on Grandpa Sue, but because of everything that happened before, she feels guilty." I frowned and interrupted him. "What's wrong with Grandpa Sue?" Makoto sighed and said, "His health has been deteriorating recently. He was hospitalized half a month ago, and the doctor said he probably only has about a month left." When I arrived at the hospital, Anna was feeding Grandpa Sue. In just a short time, Grandpa Sue had lost a lot of weight and appeared much weaker. I felt my heart sink, and my vision blurred. Since my parents passed away, Grandpa Sue had been the one who treated me the best. But after my divorce from Anna, in order to avoid seeing her, I hadn't visited him much. Even the news of his hospitalization had reached me through others. I walked up to him, choking on my words. Grandpa Sue, he called out. George, you're here. Why are your eyes red? Has something happened? I shook my head and forced my tears back. A man doesn't easily cry, and I didn't want to upset Grandpa Sue further. Grandpa Sue shot Anna a look and said, "Is this you making George angry again? Why else would his face look so bad?" I expected Anna to argue, but to my surprise, she just glanced at me, her eyes filled with a complex emotion. I took a deep breath to calm myself, then looked at Grandpa Sue. I said, "Grandpa Sue, she hasn't made me angry. I just haven't seen you in a long time. I missed you." I sat down beside his bed, watching him wither away, unable to suppress my sadness, thinking he only had about a month left. I regretted not visiting him more often. After Grandpa Sue had finished his meal and fallen asleep, I walked out of the room with Anna. In the quiet hallway, I coldly looked at her and lowered my voice. "Why didn't you tell me about Grandpa Sue's illness?" Anna's face darkened, and she looked at me with a complicated expression. "We're divorced now." "I didn't want to trouble you," I replied. "Don't you think that's selfish?" Grandpa Sue watched me grow up. "Even though we're divorced, I know where the line is. I won't take my anger out on others because of you." Anna pursed her lips, looking at me without saying another word. I took a deep breath and, in a neutral tone, said, "I know you don't want to see me, and I don't either. But Grandpa Sue doesn't have much time left. I plan to come see him every day. You can arrange your schedule accordingly." Though I no longer loved Anna, I couldn't pretend it didn't bother me to see her with Makoto right in front of me. She said, "I don't mind seeing you." Her vague response made me frown. I couldn't help but say, "Whatever. Just know that I don't want to see you and Makoto when I visit Grandpa Sue." Anna fell silent. After a while, she spoke. "When you come to see Grandpa, let me know, and I'll arrange the time." "Okay." I removed Anna from my blacklist. After that, aside from notifying her before I visited Grandpa Sue, we had no further interaction. 1 month later, one day while I was pushing Grandpa Sue in the garden downstairs from the hospital ward, he suddenly spoke. "George, there's something I want to tell you." I crouched down in front of Grandpa Sue, forcing a strained smile. "Grandpa, what is it?" In the month I had spent visiting him, he had never spoken to me with such a serious tone. Grandpa Sue smiled gently and said, "George, I know I don't have much time left. I'm really happy that you've come to see me every day this past month." A wave of panic surged in my heart. Though I had tried to keep calm this entire month, the immense sadness was overwhelming now, threatening to drown me. Chapter 06. I said, "Grandpa, don't say that. Your health will get better." Grandpa Sue shook his head, his face calm. He said, "I know my own body. At my age, I have no regrets. The only thing I can't let go of is you. Even if you don't say it, I know it's Anna who wronged you. So I've never accepted that man. You and Anna have no fate, but I've always regarded you as my own grandson, and I hope that you will find someone who truly treats you well in the future." "Grandpa," he interrupted. "Let me finish." He took out a bank card from his pocket and handed it to me, saying softly, "This is just a small token for my granddaughter-in-law. I probably won't be able to see your wedding." Everything in front of me blurred, and I shook my head, saying, "Grandpa, I can't accept this." He insisted, "Listen to me. Take it. This is my little gift. If you don't take it, I will be upset." Reluctantly, I accepted the card. Grandpa Sue finally smiled, as if he'd put something to rest. The wrinkles on his forehead seemed to smooth out. At 11:15 p.m. that night, Grandpa Sue passed away peacefully. When he left, I knew that the last of my relatives had gone. I should have been devastated, but it felt like I had lost all emotions. I just stood there numbly, as if nothing concerned me. On the day of the funeral, Willow came with me. In the photo, Grandpa Sue smiled kindly, just like when I used to visit Anna at Sue's house, but I knew that would never happen again. Anna was dressed in black, looking haggard, her eyes dark with fatigue, as if she hadn't slept for days. Makoto stood beside her, occasionally supporting her to prevent her from falling. After the funeral, I sank into a depression for a while, doing nothing but work, until a month later, Willow came to my house, pulled me up, and scolded me angrily. "George, Grandpa Sue is gone, and that's a fact we can't change. How long are you going to stay like this? He wouldn't want to see you like this." I forced a bitter smile and said, "I know, but I just can't accept it." She grabbed my shoulders and looked me in the eye, speaking each word slowly. "No one can accept the sudden loss of a loved one, but we have to accept it because life goes on." I pushed her away, unwilling to say anything. I understood everything she said, but I couldn't summon the energy to do anything. Grandpa Sue had been so good to me, but because of Anna, I distanced myself from him. How sad must he have been during that time? But he never looked for me, nor did he let Anna find me. Even at the end, he made sure to leave me something. But what did I do? I had time to be with him more, but I didn't take it. The more I thought about it, the sadder I became. Willow hugged me, gently patting my back and speaking softly, "George, cry. Once you've cried, It'll be easier. It takes a lifetime to let go of a loved one's passing, but you have to understand that no one can be with you forever. Tears began to fall uncontrollably. I knew they couldn't be with me forever, and what hurt most was that I always seemed to cherish things only after losing them. But by then, it was always too late. After crying for a long time, I felt much lighter. My emotions were no longer as heavy as before. She stayed with me all afternoon, and when she saw I was more stable, she finally relaxed. She asked, "Is it easier now that you've cried?" I shook my head and said, "It still hurts, but I know I have to move on, because you're right. Grandpa Sue wouldn't want to see me like this." She said, "As long as you're willing to move on, that's enough." Willow looked at me with encouragement and warmth in her eyes. My face heated up, and my heart skipped a beat. I quickly looked away, wondering what to say. Suddenly, my stomach growled loudly. How embarrassing. Willow was startled for a moment but quickly said, "You rest on the couch. I'll make you something to eat." Okay. She cooked quickly, and in less than half an hour, she brought out 2 dishes and a soup. They looked delicious and smelled wonderful, completely different from the dark food I had imagined. After washing my hands, I sat down at the table and looked at her. "I didn't expect you to be such a good cook." She served me a bowl of rice, smiling as she said, "Did you forget? I studied abroad for 3 years during college. The food abroad was too bad, so I had to cook for myself." Gradually, I learned how to cook. I thought about it and remembered that she had indeed studied abroad, but back then, because of Anna, we hadn't kept in touch. I found out she had been abroad for 6 months when I heard the news. I nodded. "Yeah, I remember now." After dinner, I got up and stopped her from cleaning the dishes. I said, "I'll do it myself. You've already done a lot today. I can't ask you to wash the dishes too." Willow smiled and said, "If you're too embarrassed to rest on the couch, just make me a cup of coffee. I saw you have a coffee machine." Indeed, there was a coffee machine, but I hadn't used it in a long time. I nodded. "Okay, I'll clean the coffee machine first." She said, "I'll do it. You go grind the coffee beans." Reluctantly, I went to grind the coffee beans. As I took the beans out of the jar and began grinding them, the aroma of the coffee filled the air. I was starting to crave some coffee. When I finished making 2 cups, Willow had just put the last dish in the drying rack. She turned around and saw me holding the 2 cups of coffee. She smiled and said, I could already smell the coffee. I handed her 1 cup, suddenly feeling a little embarrassed. I said, "I haven't made coffee in a long time, so it might not taste that great." She took a sip, and her expression suddenly became serious. I felt awkward and said, "Is it really bad? Should I throw it out?" Before I could grab the cup to throw it away, she pulled it away from me and said seriously, "Your skill with coffee. Have you considered opening a cafe?" Seeing the mischievous smile in her eyes, I realized I had just been played. I rolled my eyes. "You made that face and I thought it was really bad." She snorted. "Just teasing you." All right. I walked quickly into the living room with my cup of coffee, my lips unconsciously curling into a smile. I couldn't remember the last time I'd felt this relaxed with someone. It really wasn't such a bad feeling after all. Chapter 07. After finishing the coffee, it was already past 8 in the evening. Willow got up and said, "It's getting late. I should head home now." Okay. After that, our relationship continued to grow closer over the next month. I thought I would never feel attracted to another woman, but recently, I noticed that my heart, which had been dormant for so long, was beginning to beat again, faintly. The next time I saw Anna was on my birthday. That day, Willow had booked a table at a Western restaurant with a view overlooking the entire city. She invited me to dinner. Over time, our feelings for each other had been gradually warming up, and we were so close to crossing that line. I had a feeling that tonight, our relationship might progress further, so I had prepared myself for it. Sure enough, after finishing our meal, she asked me to close my eyes. Then, she suddenly kissed my cheek and said, "George, I was planning to confess to you later, but I just couldn't wait. Could you give me a chance and let me be your girlfriend?" Her dark eyes were fixed on me, filled with sincerity, as if holding the entire night sky within them. She continued, "I know you've been hurt before and are afraid of being hurt again, but I want you to know that the problem was never with love. It was with the woman who didn't love you. I hope I can make you feel the beauty of this world again, and help you regain the ability to love, even if you don't agree. It's okay. I'll stay by your side until you're ready to walk towards me." Her words moved me deeply. Over the past period, I could feel how much she valued me, and perhaps I really should give myself a chance. Just as I was about to nod, suddenly, Anna appeared out of nowhere and slapped Willow hard across the face. Before I could react, the 2 women were already in a fierce struggle. Not far away, Makoto seemed shocked by the scene, his face turning pale as he stood frozen. I rushed forward to separate them, pulling Willow behind me to prevent Anna from hurting her. "Are you okay?" I asked. Willow shook her head, wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, and glared coldly at Anna. "Anna, if you want to go crazy, go to a mental hospital, and I'm reporting this to the police tonight." Anna sneered and said, "Do you think I'm scared?" "Willow, I warned you to stay away from George." Her words made my brows furrow, and I turned to Anna coldly. What gives you the right to say that? I've been divorced from you for a long time, and now we're nothing but strangers. Why do you have to see me unhappy before you're satisfied? Anna looked at me in disbelief, her voice trembling as she said, George, I just don't want you to be deceived. Don't you know that Willow had over a dozen boyfriends when she was abroad? I took a deep breath and said, she could have had 100 or 1,000 boyfriends, but that has nothing to do with you. And who's been lying to me all this time, if not you? Her face changed, and she seemed about to say something, but Makoto suddenly grabbed her sleeve. Anna turned to look at him, her face changing again. In the end, she said nothing. I couldn't be bothered to deal with the two of them and immediately took Willow to the hospital. After treating her injuries, Willow suddenly looked at me and said, George, I'm thinking of reporting her to teach her a lesson. But if you still, I interrupted her. I have no feelings for her anymore. Just do what you think is right. She nodded and said, okay. After reporting it to the police, it didn't take long for Anna and Makoto to arrive at the station. Anna's injuries had been treated, but her expression was dark as the police took her statement. In the end, this incident ended with Anna compensating Willow $50,000 in medical and emotional damages. When Anna left the station, her gaze fell on me, staring at me intently in a way that felt unsettling. Willow stepped forward and stood in front of me, saying, Anna, staring at my boyfriend like that doesn't seem very appropriate, does it? Anna bit her lip and spat out, boyfriend. Her voice sounded like it had been dipped in ice water, carrying a bone-chilling coldness. Willow let out a light laugh. Yes, on the way here, he just agreed to be with me. Is that a problem? Anna replied. He could never love you. She said it so confidently, and hearing it made a surge of anger rise in my chest. I responded, Anna, you're not me. So how do you know it's impossible? She retorted, you could never love anyone else but me. I spoke slowly, each word heavy with meaning. The fact is, I've already fallen for her, and I'm not pathetic enough to keep loving someone who tramples on my feelings. After saying that, I took Willow's hand and walked away. Once we got home, Willow left. The next morning, when I opened the door, I was startled to see someone standing in front of my house. I froze for a moment, then recognized it was Anna. I frowned instinctively. She looked at me with a pitiful expression, opening her mouth but unable to speak, as if she had something to say but couldn't bring herself to. I spoke first. Anna, are you out of your mind? Waiting outside my door so early in the morning? Leave immediately, or I'll call the police. Perhaps my cold expression hurt her feelings, and she looked slightly hurt. She took a few steps toward me but stopped when she saw my wary look. She said, George, I'm sorry. I just don't know where else to go. Her bitter expression almost made me laugh. I replied, if I remember correctly, you're already engaged to Makoto. You're about to get married. The dream you've always wanted. What else could you possibly want? Anna smiled bitterly and said, I thought being with Makoto would make me happy, but now, when I'm with him, all I can think about are the moments we had together. Shut up. I interrupted her coldly. So what you're saying is, when we were together, you were thinking about Makoto, and now that you're with him, you're thinking about me? I realized that neither she nor Makoto was right for me. She simply couldn't stop yearning for the past. I felt disgusted at myself for loving a woman like her for so many years. How could she be so repulsive? Anna looked at me, her eyes full of regret. She said, George, after Grandpa passed away, I realized you were the most important person to me. What I had with Makoto was just a passing whim. I responded, I don't care if it was a passing whim or whatever. We're already divorced. Please take your self-righteous feelings and leave. I never want to see you again. I had once hoped to spend my life with her, but every time, she had let me down, leaving me in despair. Chapter 08. That feeling was too painful. I never want to go through it again in my life. And, the moment I realized she had lied to me in order to divorce me, my feelings for her turned to ashes. Anna didn't move. Her lips trembled, and after several seconds, she whispered, George, I've never told anyone this, but those few months living together in the rental house with you were the happiest time of my life. Slap. I raised my hand and slapped her. If she hadn't brought it up, I probably wouldn't have hit her. But how could she be this shameless? Does she even realize what that period of time meant to me? Through gritted teeth, I said, you think that time was the happiest for you? Have you ever thought about how it felt for me to work 3 jobs a day, not even being able to afford a $2 bus ride, walking every day between my jobs? That time was the darkest, most painful period of my life, not because I was always either working or on my way to work, but because I gave you my heart, and you just threw it on the ground and trampled on it. If I could, I'd really wish I could go back to the day I graduated from high school, when you told me to wait for you. This time, I would reject you without hesitation. Anna's eyes flashed with sorrow and regret, her gaze bloodshot as she looked at me. She said, George, I'm sorry. I know I made so many mistakes, and I realize I was wrong. You can hit me if you want, as long as you don't leave me. I'll do anything. Her current regret was something I had once longed to see, but now, There was no longer any reaction in my heart, because I no longer cared about her, and the hurt she caused me was beyond repair. It was better to let go of myself. I said, Anna, it's not that I don't want you. It's that you're the one who didn't want me first. I've just had enough of waiting for you. That's all. George, I replied, if you keep bothering me, I'll call Makoto right now. Anna smiled bitterly at me, and said, right now, I care about you. As soon as she finished speaking, a mocking voice came from behind her, and the person said, my boyfriend seems to be no concern of yours, and by the way, I've recorded everything you just said. If this blows up, it won't be good for you. Anna's face instantly turned pale as she turned to look at Willow. Willow, you're not even worthy of being with George. Willow ignored her, walking straight to my side and wrapping her arm around mine, sneering, not worthy. Who is? You. Don't forget, you still have a fiancé. A woman like you, always looking at what's in someone else's bowl while eating your own, deserves to be single forever. Anna retorted, I can break off my engagement with Makoto. The one I love is George. Willow gave a mocking smile, but her arm around my shoulder tightened without her realizing. She must have been worried that I still had feelings for Anna. She said, well then, you should ask George if he still likes you. In an instant, both women's gazes fell on me. I frowned and looked at Anna. Her eyes were full of hope and caution, but just like when I loved her, her hopes now could only be in vain. I said, Anna, I really don't love you anymore. Not at all. Please don't disturb my life anymore. Anna left in a daze. Willow released me and said with a serious expression, how can you just open the door for other women like that? What if she accuses you of being inappropriate? Seeing her face darken a bit, I quickly explained, no, I didn't know she was out there. Plus, I'd known Anna for so long, I didn't think she would do such a thing. She said, next time, check if anyone's outside before you open the door. I'll install a video doorbell for you. Willow is a doer. By the time I came home from work that evening, the video doorbell was already installed. How's that? Isn't your girlfriend quick to act? I nodded. She's quick, and the doorbell works really well. You can see the entire view outside. She said, but I think it's still not secure enough. How about I move in with you and keep an eye on you? Seeing her eager look, I rolled my eyes and said, I know exactly what you're planning. She snorted and said, well, never mind. I'll just buy the house across from yours and move there. I was speechless. Wait, are you serious? She nodded. But I haven't found the owner of the house across from you yet. Once I do, I should be able to buy it. After learning of Willow's plan, I started paying more attention to whether anyone was moving into the house across from mine. I also asked the property management, but they refused to give me the owner's information, citing privacy reasons. Half a month later, I finally found out who owned the house across from mine, and it was someone I hadn't expected, Anna. When I found out she had bought the house across from mine not long after I moved here, I felt nothing but annoyance. Did she think her actions now made her seem devoted? She was engaged to Makoto but still came to disgust me in front of my face. Did she think I had no temper? I took a deep breath and had someone tell Makoto about Anna buying the house across from mine. I didn't believe he could sit still after that. Sure enough, Makoto quickly came to find me. Mr. Wong, it's true that Anna bought the house across from yours, but it doesn't mean anything. She bought it as our wedding house. We didn't know you lived across from us. After all, who would ask their neighbors about who lives across from them when buying a house, right? I looked at him indifferently without speaking. He wasn't concerned and continued. Later, when her grandfather got sick, she wanted you to visit him. She had someone look up your address, and that's how we found out you lived across from our wedding house. The house has been left idle since then. If you don't believe me, I can take you there to see it. It hasn't been renovated at all, I said. No need. I'm not curious. I just want to remind Mr. Ito to keep an eye on your fiancé. Makoto smiled faintly. Don't worry, our relationship is great, I responded. Is that so? Then Mr. Ito, perhaps you should take a look at this. I showed him screenshots from the surveillance footage of Anna standing at my door all night. Makoto's face instantly turned ashen. I said, Mr. Ito, I'm not interested in what happens between you and Anna. I just hope she doesn't come to my door again. Otherwise, I'll have no choice but to call the police. Makoto said nothing, his face pale as paper. I picked up my phone and stood up to leave. As for what Makoto would do to Anna, it was no longer any of my business. Chapter 09. Although Anna and I are divorced, many of the people we know in our circle overlap. So there are still occasions where we can't avoid seeing each other. A week after I showed Makoto the surveillance footage, I ran into him and Anna at a gathering organized by a group of friends in our circle, with Willow by my side. When Makoto saw me, the smile on his face froze, and the hand he had around Anna's waist instinctively tightened. I couldn't help but feel a little wistful. During the years I was married to Anna, every time I saw Makoto, I was on edge like him. When people saw Willow and me holding hands, they started teasing, envious of Willow. Who would have thought that her secret crush really came true? Some even said, I'm so jealous. I confessed to my first love last year, and now they're already married with their second child. It's such a tearjerker. Haha. When she told me she liked George, I advised her to give up because back then George was only focused on Anna. I didn't expect, after all these years, they'd actually end up together. As soon as those words were said, the whole room went silent. All eyes were on us four, and Anna and Makoto both looked extremely uncomfortable. Willow leaned into my arms and chuckled. Yes, I'm lucky he gave me this chance. Everyone around laughed, and the atmosphere slowly returned to its usual harmony. Soon, someone suggested playing Truth or Dare. I wasn't too interested in such games, but seeing that everyone was participating, I decided to join in rather than sit alone. At first, I was lucky and managed to avoid answering, but before long, the bottle landed in front of Anna. The host asked, Truth or Dare? Anna paused for a moment, then softly replied, Truth. Haha. Then I'll ask something personal. Is there anyone here you can't forget? Anna's gaze suddenly shifted towards me. I frowned, trying to suppress my urge to yell at her. She said, Yes. The host asked, Is it Makoto? Anna bit her lip and replied, That's the second question. The bottle continued to spin, and to my misfortune, it stopped in front of me in the next round. It seemed every time Anna was involved, things went downhill. These people were out of line with their dares, and I didn't want to be embarrassed like last time, screaming nonsensical things. I chose Truth. The host asked, Do you still have feelings for your ex? I rolled my eyes in my mind. This was clearly trying to stir up trouble. I answered, I have a new girlfriend. Don't you think that's obvious? Who would be nostalgic about an ex who was nothing but trouble? Willow smiled and said, George likes me now. Don't ask him such boring questions next time. Just then, a scream echoed from the corner. Anna, your hand. Everyone turned to look and saw that Anna had somehow crushed the glass, and the shards were embedded in her hand, blood dripping continuously. Makoto tried to help, but she pushed him away. It was as if she didn't feel the pain at all, not even glancing at her bleeding hand. Her gaze solely fixed on me. She said, George, what you just said, that was a lie, right? Her eyes were full of expectation. I couldn't tell what she was hoping for. Did she expect me to still love her after everything? I looked at her coldly and said, Anna, I've always been direct. There's no need for me to lie about this. If I still had feelings for her, I wouldn't have agreed to be with Willow, especially not at the cost of Willow's feelings. It's impossible. Her voice suddenly rose, startling everyone in the room. Someone nearby stood up to comfort her, but Anna shot them a cold look that made them sit back down. She stood and walked toward me, her eyes full of pain and sadness, as if she were the one who had been abandoned. Willow stood up as well, saying, Anna, George is with me now, and your fiancé is over there. If you're losing it, take it to him, Anna shouted. Get away. Seeing her about to lash out at Willow, I stood up angrily, blocking her path and looking at her coldly. Anna, how much longer are you going to act like this? Anna looked at me with a broken heart, her eyes bloodshot as if she was about to cry. She said, George, you're mine. We grew up together. You can only be with me. How could you like someone else? I was speechless. You can fall for Makoto, but I can't. Or do you think I should love only you for the rest of my life, even if you're with someone else? Anna quickly shook her head, saying, No, it's not like that. I still love you. If you're willing to come back to me, I can break off my engagement with Makoto. Let's start over. Okay. She looked so pitiful, but my heart felt nothing. I smiled coldly. No matter what happens with you and Makoto, I will never be with you again. The moment I see you now, I feel disgusted. With that, I grabbed Willow's hand and walked out. I hadn't wanted to tear things apart in front of everyone, but Anna was just too shameless. I couldn't believe how she had become such a person. After that, whenever they called for Anna, they didn't look for me, and when they called for me, Anna wasn't included. We never saw each other again. I thought we were done for good, but things took a turn when the Sue group started targeting the Lou group. I didn't know about this at first. It wasn't until I noticed Willow working late more often that I grew suspicious and investigated, only to find out Anna had been suppressing Willow's company. It wasn't just normal competition, she was engaging in malicious, self-destructive tactics, and if things continued, both sides would end up losing. I realized she had truly lost her mind. When Grandpa Sue was still around, she kept her behavior in check, but now she was like a rabid dog, attacking anyone in her path. I decided to go see Anna. When I saw her again, I felt completely calm. She seemed happy to see me, immediately asking her secretary to prepare my favorite fruits. George, sit down. What's the matter? I sat on the sofa and said, I hope you stop targeting Willow. This kind of senseless behavior won't do anyone any good. The two companies had quite a few collaborations, but thanks to Anna's actions, they were now nearly severed and had become enemies. Anna's smile froze, and after a long pause, she coldly spoke. Are you here because of Willow? I replied. Yes, she then said. As long as you come back to me, I'll stop going after her. Chapter 10. I said, Anna, Keep dealing with Willow, and your company will go bankrupt. Sue's company was founded by Grandpa Sue himself, and if he knew it was ruined by you, he wouldn't rest in peace, even underground. At the mention of Grandpa Sue, Anna's expression softened a bit. Just as I was about to continue persuading her, she suddenly looked up at me. She said, "Before Grandpa passed away, his biggest wish was for us to be together again. If it weren't for the bank card Grandpa Sue gave me before his death and the words he said to me, I might have been fooled by her." I smiled and said, "Anna, even if you're using Grandpa Sue's dying wish to manipulate me, I will never be with you again. I don't love you anymore." She said, "Don't love me? How is that possible? You promised to wait for me your whole life." Her expression became agitated, and she stood up as if she was about to walk toward me. I said, "Don't come over." I quickly stood up and stepped back, trying to put some distance between us, but my movement seemed to anger her, and she quickly rushed towards me. In the next second, she threw herself onto me. What the hell is wrong with her? At this moment, she was like an octopus, finding ways to cling to me no matter how much I tried to push her away. When I pulled, she took the opportunity to take off her jacket. So, gritting my teeth, I held onto her jacket and said, "Anna, calm down, put your clothes back on." She said, "George, if you come back to me, I will let Willow go. Isn't that good? I'll treat you well, and I'll compensate you for all the things I owe you 100 times over." I said, "Calm down first, put your clothes on, and we can talk about this slowly." She said, "No, if I let you go, you'll run away immediately. I know you." I gritted my teeth, cursing Anna in my mind, but on the outside, I still had to calm her down. "Anna, I promise I won't run." "Sit back down. I have something to say to you too," she asked. "Really?" She said, "George, you'd better not lie to me." Anna released her grip on me, but her dark eyes were still tightly fixed on me. I returned to the sofa, trying to figure out how to leave. Anna seemed to see through my thoughts. "George, you don't have to think about escaping. I've already had the bodyguard lock the door. I won't let you leave." I frowned, finding her logic strange. I forced a smile and said, "Anna, why can't you just let me go? If she really loved me, she wouldn't have fallen for Makoto during college, and wouldn't have been so desperate for him, even to the point of wanting to die for him. Later, we ended up getting married by accident, and I thought I could win her heart back. But when Makoto returned to her, she immediately wanted to divorce me. She said, 'George, we were always supposed to be together forever. It's not that I can't let you go. It's that you've fallen for someone else and want to escape from me.'" As she spoke, her expression turned cold and terrifying. I said helplessly, "If I hadn't been with Willow, but was still chasing after you, you'd probably hate me to the extreme by now. You don't like me. You can't stand it when someone who's been trailing behind you suddenly leaves. Your pride won't allow it." She said, "That's not true." She squatted down in front of me, and I clenched my fists. This time, I was ready. If she acted crazy again, I wouldn't hesitate to make her suffer. She said, "George, after those 3 months of fooling you, I realized I loved you. I slowly fell in love with you, but back then, I didn't realize it. Now I know I love you. If you give me a chance, we can start over." Her eyes were full of hope, but just the thought of waking up every day and seeing her face filled me with an overwhelming sense of disgust. Yes, my feelings for her had gone from liking to absolute repulsion. Repulsion to the point where I never wanted to see her face again in my life. Wouldn't it be better if we parted on good terms? Why does she have to act all deep and passionate after hurting me so much and then ask me to be with her? Isn't life just full of absurdity? I asked. "What about Makoto? What are you going to do?" Anna's expression stiffened immediately. After a long while, she said softly, "I'm sorry to him. I'll make it up to him." "Anna, you're so selfish and disgusting." She looked at me in disbelief and said, "George, why?" I sneered and said, "Seeing you disgusts me, and there's no way I'm going to be with you. I'd rather die." Anna was frozen, her whole body stiff as a statue. I pushed her down to the ground and walked toward the door, but in the next second, the office door suddenly slammed open, and Willow, looking cold as ice, stood in the doorway. She gritted her teeth and said, "Stay away from George." Anna retorted, "Willow, if you don't want your company to go bankrupt, get out of the way now." Willow laughed coldly and said, "Anna, do you think you can threaten me? I've already found a new partner, and I'm not afraid of you anymore." Anna's face turned ashen, her eyes icy as she stared at Willow. She said, "No matter what, I'm going to get George back." Willow rolled her eyes and said, "Get him back? What qualifications do you have? Isn't this just being a mistress?" Anna shot back, "What's it to you?" Willow said, "He's my boyfriend." "What do you mean? What's it to me?" Just as the two of them were about to charge at each other, Makoto's trembling voice came from behind. Makoto said, "Anna, didn't you promise me we'd live a good life? Why are George and Willow here?" I turned to look at Makoto. His face was pale, and his eyes were filled with disappointment as he stared at Anna. Anna pursed her lips and said, "Makoto, Anna's expression was bitter, but she didn't try to explain. Makoto sighed and said, "Since you can't let go of George, I'll let you have him. I'll leave on my own." After saying that, he turned and left quickly. Anna's face changed, and she hurried after him. Willow ignored me, her face grim, clearly furious. I said, "Don't be angry. I came here to try to persuade her to stop going after Lou's company." Willow took a deep breath and said discontentedly, "Are you stupid? You know she's crazy and extreme, yet you still go looking for her." I had messaged Willow on the way to Sue's company. I said, "Didn't I message you and let you know? I thought there wouldn't be a problem." She snorted. "Next time you do something like this, let's see how I deal with you." After getting back in the car, I asked her if she really found a new partner. Chapter 11. She nodded and said, "Of course, don't you trust me?" I said, "I trust you, as long as we can get through this company crisis." The next morning, Makoto suddenly came to see me. He looked dejected, his face pale, completely different from the confident man he used to be. He said, "George, I've lost to you, lost completely." I didn't feel the slightest bit of sympathy for his current situation, nor did I want to mock him. I said, "I never thought about beating you. I just gambled that she would forget you, but I lost the bet in the end." He gave a wry smile and said, "It doesn't matter anymore. I was planning to leave her anyway." She didn't stop me, and said she would give me some money to compensate me. Hearing this, I felt a sinking sensation in my heart, a bad premonition. Seeing my troubled expression, he sighed and said, "You've probably guessed it, but she's a madwoman now. She wants to be with you no matter what. You should be careful." He added, "To be honest, I got together with her in the first place just to avoid struggling for a few more years. But now she's gone crazy, and insists on going after Lou's company. It seems their love wasn't as deep as I thought." Makoto looked at me with an indifferent expression and said, "You don't need to look at me like that. I was never some kind of righteous man." After a moment of thought, I understood. For Makoto, taking the money and leaving was probably the best choice right now. I said, "Thanks for telling me this. I'll be careful." That afternoon, I moved to another apartment. Staying here was too unsafe. Who knows what would happen if Anna sneaked into my place while I was sleeping. Noticing my anxiety, Willow hugged me and reassured me that it would all be over soon, and she wouldn't let Anna have a chance. Even though I had moved out, I could still keep an eye on the situation at my old place via the surveillance cameras. Sure enough, Anna came looking for me. She waited outside my apartment all night, and when I didn't show up, she finally left. I didn't even go to the company, staying home all day. It wasn't until half a month later that Willow came to tell me that Sue's company had gone bankrupt, and Anna wouldn't be bothering me anymore. That's when I finally breathed a sigh of relief. Anna had tried to destroy Lou's company, but her reckless behavior, alienating the shareholders by attacking Lou's company, had angered many of them. On top of that, Sue's stock price had been dropping, and many shareholders sold off their stakes. Yet Anna stubbornly kept trying to target Lou's company, which ultimately caused Sue's financial chain to break, leading to bankruptcy. When I heard about it, I couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. It was a bit sad, but mostly concerning. I said, "She doesn't have any other cards up her sleeve, does she?" Willow replied, "No, she was crippled by a competitor before. She'll be in a wheelchair for the rest of her life, and I won't give her any more chances." After hearing this, I didn't feel any sympathy. I just thought she deserved it. After I divorced her, if she had just stayed with Makoto, none of this would have happened. But her greed got the better of her, and now she had ruined her own life. I stopped paying attention to Anna. She had pretended to be bankrupt to get me to divorce her before, and now she truly was bankrupt. I wondered if she could finally understand how I felt back then. But it didn't matter anymore. She was just a chapter in my life that I had closed. She would no longer affect my future. I would move forward with the person I loved, and live a good life. Extra Anna. Since I can remember, I've known George. When we were kids, George was full of energy, and everyone who met him liked him. I liked him too. My mom told me that she and George's parents had arranged a marriage between us, and when we grew up, we would marry each other. I asked my mom what marriage was, and she told me it was when two people are together for life. After that, we went to the same elementary school and met a new friend, Willow. The three of us would go to school together, bringing all kinds of delicious snacks to share, becoming the famous trio in school. I wanted the three of us to always be this close, but in middle school, I suddenly realized that Willow liked George. In that moment, I didn't feel nervous. Willow was nicer than me, and she wasn't bad looking either. George had said many times that Willow was better than me. At first, I didn't pay much attention to it, but what if he liked Willow too? What would I do then? I began to intentionally make some flirtatious gestures towards him, and when I saw him blush, I confirmed that he liked me. Finally, I felt relieved. The next step was to figure out how to fall out with Willow so that George would naturally choose me. The three of us became two, but I didn't feel sad because now he was only mine. After the college entrance exam, I didn't do well and couldn't attend the same university as George. On the day we went to register, at the airport, I hugged him and harshly warned him not to like any other woman. He kept his promise, but I didn't. In college, I met Makoto, a boy from a poor family but with a strong, stubborn character. He was completely different from George. George was a confident, rich kid, while Makoto was like a pine tree growing stubbornly on a cliff, and I couldn't help but admire him. When I realized I had feelings for Makoto, I tried to avoid it, but I failed, and eventually, I fell for him uncontrollably. I didn't know how to tell George that I had fallen for someone else, but he soon figured it out. He gradually stopped looking for me and started keeping his distance. At first, I felt guilty, but the excitement of being with Makoto washed away those feelings. During the time I was with Makoto, I completely forgot about George. If we hadn't fought before graduation, I think I might have married Makoto. At that time, Makoto didn't know I came from a wealthy family. I suggested he come with me to the south, but he insisted on working in the north. We had a huge fight, and in anger, he broke up with me and secretly went to the north. When I found out, I was angry, but I also wanted to salvage our relationship, so I bought a ticket to go find him. Just as I was about to get on the train, I got a call from my grandfather saying that George's parents had been in a car accident and both had passed away. I changed my ticket and went back to the south. During that time, George was in a terrible state, and I couldn't leave him to go find Makoto. When George finally started recovering, I saw on social media that Makoto was sitting across from a beautiful woman. His roommate asked if he had started a new relationship, and he openly admitted it. Later, I found out he only posted that because he saw that I hadn't gone to find him, and he wanted to make me jealous. I didn't ask him about it, and that was when everything between us was lost. I went through a period of depression, drinking a lot, and George would come to pick me up every time. In fact, I know that the first time I was with someone, it was with him. I just couldn't accept that I no longer liked Makoto, so I told him I had mistaken the person. Later, my grandfather pressured George to marry me. I didn't want to, but I thought, since I couldn't be with Makoto, marrying George wouldn't be so bad. At least, he would be happy. After the marriage, we lived a calm life. Sometimes he would surprise me with little things, and I thought it wasn't so bad after all, until Makoto showed up. He told me that he had never been with anyone else and had always been waiting for me. But since I didn't come looking for him, he had come to find me. When he told me he had quit his high-paying job in the north to come back to the south to be with me, I was moved. But I didn't hide the fact that I was married to George. At first, Makoto was very sad, but then he decided to leave. When I took him to the airport, at the last moment, I couldn't resist hugging him and begging him not to leave. He stayed, but I didn't know how to tell George that I wanted a divorce. I didn't want to hurt him, but I also didn't want to betray Makoto. After thinking about it for a long time, I came up with the idea of pretending that the Sue family had gone bankrupt and hoping George would propose the divorce on his own. That way, I wouldn't feel guilty. However, what I didn't expect was that George stayed by my side and endured 3 months of hardship. Seeing him come home exhausted every day, so tired that he would fall asleep after taking a shower, I was both moved and heartbroken. Many times, I wanted to tell him the truth, but when the words were on the tip of my tongue, I didn't know how to start. I realized I had made a mistake, but now I didn't know how to fix it. I could only keep going down the wrong path. I didn't expect George to find out so quickly, as I had wished. He proposed the divorce, but I wasn't happy at all. After the divorce, I tried not to think about him, but whenever I was with Makoto, his face kept appearing in my mind. I think I was probably going crazy. Eventually, he got together with Willow. When I found out, I almost went mad. How could he fall in love with someone else? How could he be with her? I decided, without thinking, that I would take him back from Willow, but when he looked at me, there was no longer any love in his eyes, only disdain. I thought that if I could get him back, he would eventually fall in love with me again. After all, we grew up together, and we were the most important people in each other's lives. I started attacking Lu Group relentlessly. The company's shareholders tried to stop me, but I didn't intend to back down. In the end, Su Group went bankrupt, and someone from the other company broke my legs. Now, I'll spend the rest of my life in a wheelchair, losing my pride in the person I loved most. Today, I only wish for George to be happy and have a peaceful, prosperous life. Even if all of this no longer concerns me,